Good evening. So, you may recall last night I had said that there was a period of time that I had a nervous breakdown. And it was because the weight of everything just really sunk in. So, once I realized what was going on uh, in regards to initially the jet streams, because that's what I started out looking into. Why was it that the jet streams were collapsing? And, you know, after some time of looking into it, I came across pole shift. And, I kept looking into it and kept looking into it. This was before that, I'm not sure if Ben Davison was making content about it yet or not, to be honest. I hadn't ran across him yet at that point. And once I had put together that once those magnetic poles shift, that it has no choice but to take the the geographic poles along with it, I sat and I thought for a moment. And the first thing that came to mind was a top. The kind of top like many of us had as kids. Many of maybe the older folks, I don't even know if they still sell tops at all in the toy department. But we had tops when they were younger. And you'd spin them. And they'd go round and round and round, and they'd be just as stable as they could be. And then as they would slow down, they would get a little bit of a wobble going on, and then a little more of a wobble going on. And then once it reached a certain point, it just flopped. Well, the Earth's both magnetic and geographic poles are going to act much the same way. In fact, right now, there's more wobble in the Earth than ever recorded in our civilization's history. It's important that I word it that way because that's the accurate way to word it. It's happened before, just not in this particular. It happened at the beginning of this civilization. It hasn't happened during this civilization. So once I started thinking about that for a while, I thought about all of the things that would happen to the Earth when there was a sudden geomagnetic and geographic flip. 90 degrees. Now, it's not going to be quite 90 degrees because we're already going to be a little bit on the way there by the time it makes that flop. But nonetheless, when it makes that flop, the Earth's crust, the mantle, it's just going to go insane. But I want you to think about something else. If all of a sudden, and all I can do is throw a speed out there because there's no way I could possibly give you a speed. Ben couldn't give you a speed. Nobody could. Imagine if all of a sudden there was a straight line wind that just came out of nowhere. And let's just throw 300 mile an hour on it, which I think is light in comparison to what we're really looking at here. Well, you know as well as I do that a 300 mile an hour straight line wind just out of the blue, and we're talking about the wind, not just a gust, but the steady wind, it would strip much of the Earth bare. Just look at what an F5 tornado does when it passes through. Right on, Kevin. Right on. I wished it didn't fall down, that's for sure. But I sat there and I took all that in. And I thought about it. And that's when I thought about all the awesome people that I've ever known in my life. And that's what caused me to have a nervous breakdown. Because I realized that even the most prepared better be prepared spiritually. Because there isn't anything that any of us can do to absolutely guarantee that we would make it through it. There isn't a shelter strong enough, deep enough, prepared enough. Because if that earth wants to shift and crack where your shelter is, it's going to crack it like a walnut. It's not going to be anything. And that's when it really sunk in. That's when it really sunk in. Now, when I say this, many people, if you understand what it is that's going to happen, may automatically think, there's going to have some people that think, oh, well, then why try? You'll have other people think, oh, no, that can't happen. You have other people, including someone that talked about it today on YouTube, that, it'll never happen in our lifetime. Oh, yeah? Well, we're due. We're at that 6,000 year mark. We're absolutely due. The one thing that I keep pointing out, and, well, there's two things, and there's a reason I keep pointing it out. Because I don't want you to just listen to me. I don't want you to just listen to Ben Davison. I want you to have an understanding for yourself what is truly going on. Because the only way that people are going to prepare like the world's coming to an end is if they're understanding that the world is coming to an end. Now, there's a term that's put on it that is very accurate. A near extinction event. Not total extinction event, but near extinction event. And I'm not trying to fearmonger here. There's nothing to fearmonger about this. There's nothing I can sell you to remedy this. Other than a relationship with the Father, and, I might benefit by bringing you to Him in some sense, but it's not, the kind of benefit that people here on earth are looking for. So, I wanted to talk about this. I think it's important, because I think it's important that people understand it's not Orange Man's fault, but San Andreas' fault. That's a good one. I think it's important that people understand this. And I think it's important that those that want to be aware, those that want to be not woke but awake, those that want to try to do what they can to prepare and to try to keep themselves and their loved ones safe, they're going to want to know what the deal is. I would. I think quote-unquote preppers would want to know if there was a train coming down the track that their car is stalled on. If not, well, I don't know how much of a prepper they are. This isn't about bashing the guy. That's why I'm not. I made a community post and I called him out directly. I'm not going to call him out here. That's not what's important. It's really not. We've got an ongoing feud that'll be going on for a long damn time probably. I'm not going to stop until he grows up and matures a little bit. But this isn't about calling somebody out. This is about calling an action out. And a mindset. Because it's important. I think all of us, at least to some extent, have a bit of we suffer from a normalcy bias in one way or another, right? And, you know, I'm trying to think of an instance where I suffer from normalcy bias. I'm sure I do. I have no doubt that I do. I just have to find what subject it is that I suffer it from. But I think we all suffer that to some extent about some things. The important part is to not let it become your overall outlook. That's what's important. I think largely why some people, including the individual that prompted me to do this, I think what it is because it's something bigger than them. And so automatically, because it's something bigger than them, it's something that's out of their control. No, it can't happen. And now we see a lot of that among society. Because, especially if you're in preparedness and you try to talk to other individuals about preparedness, there's a whole lot of people out there with the, oh, it'll never happen to me attitude. That's normalcy bias. This is something that we can't escape. This is something that is scientifically proven. I don't know of, I don't know of anything that is more scientifically proven than this. I mean, there are things, but what I'm saying is this isn't guesswork. This isn't an opinion. This is a fact that is backed up by solid science. And if you want to know the details on that solid science, I highly encourage you to follow Ben Davidson. Known for many years as Suspicious Observers. Now I believe he's Space Weatherman, if I'm not mistaken. And he does a great job of breaking it all down and making it more understandable, far more than what I can do for you. That's not the focus that the Father put me on. Father put me on a focus of figuring out ways to be able to achieve different tasks. And that's why I think it's very important that people take this very seriously, because this is no cakewalk. Again, you have to imagine if all of a sudden, and I stopped short. I said, I mentioned like the 300 mile an hour straight line winds just out of the blue, how it would strip the earth bare. And by the way, the true wind speeds, I believe, are going to be much more than 300 mile an hour. I'm just throwing that number out there. I have no idea what that number is going to be, but it's going to be a big one. Because the earth is big. So it's the same effect if you have that quick, out of nowhere, 300 mile an hour straight line wind is what it is if the earth is standing still, or not the earth, I'm sorry, the air is standing still, and the earth spins at 300 mile an hour. The effect is going to be the same. It's going to be the same. And in reality, that's exactly what's going to happen, is essentially the earth is going to be still, and it's going to be, or the air and the earth is going to be what is moving so quickly. The reason why, I don't know how fast it is off the top of my head that the earth spins, but the reason why we aren't under a constant wind speed of whatever that number is because of gravity and the atmosphere, everything pulls along with it, right? So let's say the earth, just to make it easy, is spinning at 100 miles an hour. All the air and all of that is spinning with it, roughly the same speed. So imagine if there's an immediate shift in the direction of which the Earth is spinning. You're still going to have all of that energy that's in the air and everything else that's going to carry on. It's not going to be just the air, though. I did mention the things like the mantle and the crust. They're going to become insanely violent. The other thing is the water, the oceans, the rivers, the lakes. The Bible talks about these tremendous storms that comes. Talks about it 3 different times. Of course, the time of Noah, right after the crucifixion, and Revelation. 3 times the Bible talks about pole shift. And what does it say? Storms, earthquakes, tidal waves. These are all things that are going to happen as a result. Now, it's a pretty daunting thought. Believe me, I know. And if you sit down and you take some time with yourself and some time with the Father and you really think about it for a little bit, it's a hell of a weight. It was for me. Believe it or not, I do like people. I know it might seem a little... I do like people. I don't like BS. I do like people. Part of what makes me tick is I'm very guarded. Because of everything that I've been through in life, I'm very, very guarded. It's not that I hate everybody. It's that, honestly, I'm afraid to get close to people because of things that I've been through in my life. And I've met, like I said, a ton of incredible people, even here on YouTube, since doing the Watchman news. Met a ton of incredible people. But even long before that, all throughout my life, I've met really incredible people. I've been very blessed in that manner. And so thinking about how all those incredible people could be gone like that, it truly does put a weight on me. Now, I can think about it now, and it doesn't send me into a mental upheaval. And much of the reason is because, honestly, I've been a bit calloused from thinking about this for over a decade. The other thing is, and I've got it mentioned in the title, is the Serenity prayer. Now, I'm not a recovered alcoholic. Not a recovered drug addict or anything like that. But I have always held the Serenity prayer close to me. Even more so in the past decade. Because it is so accurate. And it is such a good guideline as to where we should put things and how we should respond to things. And I think it's a great place for thinking about this subject. Because we're not in control of it. Not even a little bit. It's so far beyond us. And that's okay. That's okay. It's how we respond to it that's important. If we try to deny it, ignore it, it's not good. We stick our tail between our legs and run, that's not good either. I don't have the answer for everybody because there are some people that just aren't interested in trying to make it through something like that, and that's fine. That's fine. That's not me, though. That's not me, though. I am not one to give up very easy. I am a very persistent person. Now, not when it comes to other people. If another person tells me, nope, that's their answer, no. They tell me yes, that's their answer, yes. And I believe firmly in let your yes be yes and your no be no. And I don't think that it should be challenged. That's why I don't sit there and keep on somebody. If they tell me no, that's it. I'm good. I know how I am when people continually ask me something that I tell them either yes or no. And they keep asking me, wanting me to change my answer. And the first time, I just reply. The second time, I reply with a definite change in my tone. And the third time, they get an earful. That's just the way it is. Let your yes be yes and your no be no. And that means that you shouldn't challenge others on the same. So, I say that because that's kind of, that's part of the Serenity prayer along with resilience mixed together. It's also a bit of wisdom. I guess we could go back to some card playing here, which I don't know nothing about, but I can talk about a song, right? Know when to hold 'em, know when to fold 'em. That's an important thing. That is truly an important thing. By the way, when I was a child, my favorite song, The Gambler. When I was a child, it was probably a very close tie between The Gambler and, oh goodness. Something of Fire. I can't remember. It was songs my dad let me listen to. So, and I would sit there with his records and I would just play it over and over and over. I can't remember. Ring of Fire. Thank you very much, Hetty Hayes. You nailed it. That's correct. Ring of Fire. I could hear the music in my head, and I could kind of hear the melody, but the lyrics weren't coming, Yes, that's it. Ring of Fire. And I also like to hear Teddy Bear by, I believe it was Red Sullivan, or something like that. That was one of my favorites as well. I encourage people heavily that if you're uncertain about this, please look into it. I don't want you to take my word. I don't want you to take Ben's word. I want you to know for yourself. And the information is out there. Absolutely. Almost every single day there's more and more information that comes out that supports exactly what Ben and I are saying. Exactly. And the information as of lately has been really coming out fast. Really fast. Almost head-spinning fast. But I got to get my app backloaded on my tablet. It keeps closing on me. I've showed you this before. And this is something that you can use to see what's going on. In fact, here, hang on. I'm going to throw it up top. Stupid app. Okay, now let me see if I can F11 that thing up. There we go. That's nice and big. So, this is the Historical Magnetic Declination Viewer. This is right on the NOAA website. So it's not some conspiracy theorist website or anything like that. This is the official government website. And I've showed you this before, but let me click play. So it's let me get a little closer here. 1640 is when it just passed. It's coming up onto 1690, and I'm talking about the year, yes. And it's coming up on 1740, and it passed that now. It's coming up on 1790, past that now. And it's coming up on 1840. I want you to pay attention to what happens here. Past 1840, coming up on 1890. The next to be 1940 that it comes across. And it crossed 1940. Next is going to be 1990. And we're coming up to that. And I want you to watch how this thing accelerates. 1990 all the way up. They've got it projected to 2030. Okay? Which, by the way, isn't necessarily accurate. That's just their guesstimate of how it's going to be, because unless they've got a crystal ball. But I'm going to play that from about 1890 again, which is going to be about here. But I want you to watch when it comes up to about the 80s, the 1980s, which is right there. I want you to watch how that just shoots. 1904, it's going to be coming up to 1948. It's 1962, 1973, 1984, and then 94, 2001, 2007, and gone. See that? So again, I'm not going to call out the person by name that was talking about it in a video this morning. But what I am going to say is, if you think that there's absolutely no possibility that pole shift will happen in our lifetime, you might want to get your head examined. Because at that rate of acceleration, we are in trouble now. I mentioned earlier that you don't have to just go by what I say or what Ben says. That you can go by your own observations. We have had an incredible amount of geomagnetic solar storms in the lower latitudes. Now, I love the Northern Lights, the Aurora Borealis. I love it. It's one of the most beautiful things that I can think of. I've never seen it firsthand. I would love to. Well, kinda. It's kind of one of those bittersweet things when you know this stuff, right? But my favorite color is Aurora Pink. Yes, it's my favorite color. I know. Aurora Pink, my favorite color. That bright, bright pink. It's like, actually on my monitor up here, if you look at that pink, that's Aurora Pink. At the, where the waterfall meets the water. That's Aurora Pink. It's just an insanely bright, eye-grabbing pink. And, that's my favorite color. I have never seen, one night we had a geomagnetic storm in the lower latitudes, and I think I kind of got some pictures of it, but it was real faint because I didn't have I don't think my phone, or the phone I used, didn't have the capability to get it to really stand out. I know that iPhones have the right sensors and stuff on them that can really make it stand out. It wasn't this phone. It was a different phone that I used, and I wasn't able to really capture it. And here lately, if you pay attention to the news, They're constantly talking about how there's geomagnetic storms in the lower latitudes. That should be a wake-up call. That should be a wake-up call. The other thing that I've been pointing out for some time now is the storm systems. How they have gotten really wacky, and how much of the weather systems have moved south. So, where you would get the majority of tornadoes right through the Midwest, we're kind of on the northeastern edge of what was Tornado Alley. Now, that has shifted south and a tad east. So now, there's a new area that's getting the majority, if you will, of the really bad tornadic systems. That is because of this shift. I saw, and I didn't even think about it until just now, there were Canadian geese flying over. This was what, 2 days, 3 days ago? And they were flying around like they were lost. And we were watching that right outside the window. It's like they were lost. They didn't know where they were going. They were just kind of flying around all different directions. It was strange. Strange. The signs are here. They're here right now. We just have to open our eyes. You're going to continue to see increased earthquakes and bigger earthquakes. When it gets close enough that there are some extremely, extremely serious earth changes, you better have all your plans made out, what it is you're going to do. And when you start seeing those changes being made, you want to kick it into action. I mentioned a book that's going to be coming out. I mentioned that there is a lot of research that went into it. And it does a good job of talking about what it is that happens right when we are at the cusp of the big shift. And it does a great job of laying that out. But I encourage people heavily to pay close attention to the geomagnetic storms, the frequency of them and the severity of them, and pay attention to what it was that caused that geomagnetic storm. And you'll find out that it's much, much smaller disruptions in our Earth's magnetism than what should cause geomagnetic storms on those levels. And this is all stuff that you can see for yourself, and that's why I'm telling you about them, because, again, I'll say it again, I don't want you to take my word for it. I don't want you to take Ben's word for it. I want you to see it for yourself, because there is no better way to be truly convinced than if you see it for yourself. And I think that's heavily important, and I think it's highly irresponsible for anybody to come on YouTube or anywhere else and just throw it all out the window. Oh, it's not going to happen in our lifetime. It takes thousands of years. Yeah, it does. What did this start out at? 1590? 1590, and if I were to back it up to where it starts the same direction, would be 1904 roughly, I believe. Yeah, somewhere in there. Yeah, around 1904. Oh, switch over for me, you stupid thing. Oops, I actually wanted that one. Yeah, around 1904. is where it starts to shoot straight. So over 100 years, and again, you have to figure in that acceleration. So it does take time. It's not something that just happens overnight. But the whole point is it's been happening. It's been happening for a long time now. Yeah, he does do an okay job on the weather. He does. In my opinion, he fearmongers a little much. But not so much on the weather as what he does like on, oh gosh, when it comes to this stuff, this very topic I'm talking about. He doesn't really talk so much about bullshit, but he talks in that direction, and he fearmongers really hard on it. Just like any asteroids or anything that flies by, it could be 50 gazillion miles away, and we better keep an eye on this, But, yeah, he does all right. He does all right. BP is one of the first people that I started watching when I was trying to figure out what was going on with the jet streams. That very first started me on this journey. And the reason why was because he was covering, per his name, the BP oil spill in detail. And so I was watching him because initially I thought that it was the BP oil spill that had something to do with the collapsing jet streams. But I couldn't make that connection. I had a hard time making that connection. I was watching BP Earthwatch trying to see if somehow he could make something make sense that I wasn't seeing, and then come to find out that wasn't the case. That wasn't why the jet streams collapsed. But yes, he was one of the people I very first started watching when I went on this journey. Again, there will be signs, but I mean, there already are signs, but there will be some very serious signs in the future. It's important that you have everything squared away, have your plans in place before then. Because once those serious signs kick in, you do not have time. And you need to get yourself hunkered down and, yep, space weather. Yep, exactly it, Steve. It's something crazy. When I was pretty young, I loved to learn about stuff, and when I was little, I was scared to death of tornadoes. I was scared to death of storms. And so I started reading about them. Any book I could get in the school library about storms, about tornadoes, about weather, I was checking it out and reading it. And I can tell you that even as a young kid, I got to looking at the weather systems and all the information in those books. And I said, there's an electrical connection here. There's an electrical connection. And I could see that, but I really couldn't place it because I couldn't tell you what that connection was connected to. And that's something that I have thought about my entire life. And then Ben made it very clear. Space weather. The sunspots, all of that stuff. Kite in the key, I haven't tried it though. But Ben does a good job of explaining what he calls the electric universe. And he's accurate on it. I think it's incredible what he points out. It's amazing. But I just want people to understand. Yes, this is something that is much bigger than all of us. No, it's not something we can do anything to stop, and it's not something that we caused. This is a natural cycle. This will indeed happen in most all of our lifetimes. Nobody can sit here and tell you a day. We can give you guesstimates of a time period, and mine would be in the 2030s, possibly early 2030, and it could even be as early as like 2029. Ben, I think it's still pretty solid on sometime in the 2040s. But even he is starting to wonder if he needs to move that date up a little bit. Or not the date, but that time period up a little bit. It's the only place I've ever disagreed with Ben. Ever since I've been watching him over a decade, the only place I've ever disagreed with Ben is because I think it's coming sooner than what he thought it was coming. And I think he's starting to realize that now. And are we right? There's no way. We don't know. All we can do is our best to guess. That's really it. This whole acceleration thing of the shift is really hard to put your finger on, because you don't know how quickly it's going to accelerate and in what time frame. And without that variable, which is the variable, there's no way to give an accurate answer. This will be in our lifetimes. Most of us. It will be in our lifetime. Without a doubt. Will certainly be in our children's lifetimes. Oh, right on, Steve. Right on. I understand, brother. I had to take a nap earlier today, man. I fully understand. Yep, we're hanging in there. Hope you're doing all right. We're hanging in there. Kind of a little excited about the weather getting warmer so I can actually get more stuff done and I won't be so sore all the time. I encourage folks to be mindful of this and don't look at it with normalcy bias. Please. Please. I get how big this is. I get how little we are. That is what it is. And if you have a hard time with that, then I highly recommend, and I mean it, the Serenity prayer. Because it says it all. It really says it all. Do what you can. Understand that you've done what you can. And don't destroy yourself or others. And I know it's not the Serenity prayer, but I'm kind of giving a paraphrasing of it. You know, don't take it out on yourself or others if you come up short. Just keep trying. Keep at it. Keep at it. And always have something bigger than you. That's why in my preparedness priority list, spiritual preparedness is number 1. That's monumentally important. Because that is that thing that you can grab a hold of when you don't know where else to turn. That's the answer. So anyway, I do have some news articles pulled up. I reckon we can kind of run through them. I didn't even think I was trying to think how I wanted to do this tonight, and I initially thought, well, I'll run through the articles real quick, and then that'll give us more time to talk about this. But then I thought, well, I'll just go into this, and then whatever happens, happens. So I would say it turned out fairly well. I don't have, none of the news articles that I have even compare to this topic. So, as far as importance, in my opinion. Yep, I agree, Kevin. I agree, and we are only a vapor compared to eternity. I mean, nothing but a vapor. Nothing but a vapor. This first article, I mentioned this yesterday too. I will not. No. You will not get me to get a real ID. I don't care if you tell me that I have to have one as a citizen of the United States. I'm not going to do it. This is a hill I will die on. And when I say that, it's not words coming out of somebody's mouth. I mean it. This is a hill that I will die on. I want nothing to do with their nonsense. Because I know what it is. Back when they called it a national ID, there were a lot of Americans that were smart enough to say not no, but hell no. And they tried it under different names, several different names, and they couldn't come close to getting it through. But for some reason, when they named it the Real ID, a whole lot of people put blinders on. I guess. I don't know. I caught it the moment they started talking about it. I caught it before it actually became a law. And I knew what was up. And I said, hell no. Well, it's here. And they're doing everything they can to push people into thinking that you've got to have one. And let me be very, very clear. You do not have to have one. Right now, I think this is subject to change and absolutely will change. But right now, there are two things that you will not be able to do without a real ID. You will not be able to get on a airplane, whether that be an international or even a domestic flight. And you will not be able to enter federal buildings. So right now, those are the two things that you won't be able to do. But as you see, they're making it sound like it's so urgent, it's so important. You have to do this. I mean, if you don't, you just, that's what they want people to think. It says right here, what is a real ID? It's a federally compliant state-issued license or identification card that the DHS says is a more secure form of identification. Besides needing a real ID to fly domestically, you will also need one to access certain federal buildings and facilities. Well, here's the thing. Yeah, no, Mr. Hawk. Mike, no. No, I don't either one. I don't want to get on a commercial airplane, and I really have no need to go into a federal building. Nope. Not for a second. Back when I did pest control, actually one of my accounts was a federal appellate courthouse. So to this day, I'm kind of surprised at the freedom I had in that building. I mean, literally, the evidence room, the records room, like, I wasn't escorted through there. I just went and did my job. I mean, I wouldn't have done anything anyway, but I still think that was a little bizarre. But, yep. I think this is going to turn into something much more. And at some point, I believe that you're going to have a real ID in order to go from state to state. I think literally they are going to require it to go from state to state. I want to make something very clear. This is not a national ID. This is an international ID. I want to make that very clear. It's much bigger than even what they're making it seem now. Now, how is it a more secure form of ID? Okay, if they're looking at a card, it's not just that they look at it, though. They're going to scan it, and that's what makes it secure. But they could do that right now. They could do that right now with your regular state-issued driver's license, and it would be the same. There is nothing about that physical card that makes it more secure. That's silliness. And if there was, then, and I know that there's security features in it that is different than a driver's license. I understand that. But why couldn't they put those features in a regular state driver's license? They could. But that's not what this is about. This is about upping the ante. This is an international ID. So, take that for what you will. Remember, I'm the guy that never lets that question out of the back of my head as to whether or not these governments are working together. For a reason, I keep that question back there. The user manual for people talks about a one world government. Talks very clearly about a one world government. Well, don't you think that a one world government's gonna have an ID system? There you go. Oh, does it glow in the dark? Seriously? I have no idea. No idea. I've never held one, never really looked at one. Jen doesn't have one. She's just got a regular ID. Oh, you were joking. Well, I don't know. It might, you know. Oh, man. Okay, this was something that slapped me upside the head today. Right on, Eddie Hayes. That was a good one, though. I knew nothing about this until today. So, Skype is over. And, I don't really use Skype, but for quite some time, for years, we've been paying Skype like $2.99 a month. That enables me to be able to use Skype as a phone. I could actually call people from Skype. And I don't know if that's gone now or what. But they kind of merged this with something that they call Teams. Yep, I agree with you, Mike Hawk, about passport being the first world government ID, more or less. Yep, I agree totally. The passport kind of made a little more sense, though. You know, because I can understand why they kind of want to keep track of where somebody would go when traveling outside of their country. You know? And I can understand where we would want to keep track of where people are coming from and why they're coming here. I think that just makes sense. But doing this, within the country, domestically, that doesn't make so much sense. So yeah, they're calling it Teams, and I don't know if we got charged this past month. I thought we did. So we'll see if we continue to get charged. I looked on the little Teams app. I downloaded it, and it opened up, and I didn't see like a keypad to where I could dial out anywhere or anything like that. So I don't know if they got rid of that part of it or not. I have no idea. But Skype is no longer. It's now been merged with Teams, Microsoft Teams, and it looks pretty goofy, to be honest. I looked at it briefly. I mentioned yesterday that this was kind of one of the things I was watching was Pakistan. What I didn't mention last night was that they had a missile test, right? And, well, they've had a second missile test. So, more or less trying to tell India that they're not going to play around. We'll see. We'll see what's going to happen here. I would say that this is one of the places we ought to be kind of keeping a closer eye on because it is a powder keg. No doubt a powder keg. And there isn't as much political persuasion, if you will, on any of the countries involved here as to keeping them from not making each other glow in the dark. So, kind of want to keep an eye on it. I'm just kind of whipping through these. I've got two more left. Swiss University secretly ran AI experiment to manipulate minds. This is insane. Now, I really do think that there ought to be criminal charges brought upon people that use us as guinea pigs, including Facebook. When Facebook was running all of its psychology experiments and stuff like that on us, doing little things to try to affect our moods, to agitate us or to make us happy. Facebook was all the way doing that, and they probably still are. I know at one time, Facebook made the claim that they could tell you when you were going to go to the bathroom before you knew. It's no joke. You can look that up. And they were right, by the way. They could. I really do think that anybody that does this stuff should be subject to criminal prosecution. I think we should be in agreement. And when I say in agreement, I'm not talking about clicking a little box so that we can get on the website, because that's BS. I get it. We should be reading everything with a fine-tooth comb. I get that. But let's be real. And then with all the legal jargon, understanding it's a whole nother thing. So it's not even fair. And I think that they should be able to bring criminal charges upon these individuals on that basis, because when people check that box, there's no way. Without having a lawyer sitting there going over every little thing, telling you every little in and out and loophole, there's no way for the average person to know. I haven't heard Fetterman talk on Iran. And then lastly, this is the last one I got. Sometimes there are things you just shouldn't do. Things that are distasteful, tacky, and just some lines you probably shouldn't cross. And there's been a lot of talk about this AI image of Trump as the Pope. And I do think that it was very distasteful, tacky, and uncalled for. Now, Trump makes the claim that the Catholics love it. Well, from what I've seen on social media, I know of a lot of Catholics that aren't cool with it. A lot. And they're not leftists. They're not liberals. They're diehard conservatives. And they're not good with it. There are some things like this that he's doing, including the whole thing about talking about being a king and all that. And I get that he does some of this stuff just to kind of rib the left. I get it. But there are probably some lines you shouldn't cross. And I would say projecting yourself as the Pope and or projecting yourself as a king would probably be a couple of the lines I would say wouldn't be a smart idea to cross. You know, I I think he needs to kind of take it down a notch with some of this ribbon at the left, especially when so many of us that had supported his 2022 run, or 2022? Wow, okay, 2024 run, I don't know what the hell that was about. Um, I, there was a lot of promises that were made, and I know that Pam Bondi loves to constantly say promises made, promises kept, but um, I'm waiting to see the promises kept. Yes, he did really put a damper on immigration. Absolutely. Gotta give credit where credit's due. He turned that faucet off and did a great job doing it. But there were some very, very, very important things that he had ran on that came with transparency. Whether it be transparency on UFOs or UAPs, or whether it be transparency about the JFK assassination, whether it be transparency about the Epstein files. There's a whole lot of stuff. The 9/11 report. There's a whole lot of stuff that we were promised transparency for. And I know we're just past 100 days. I know we are. I get that. And I'm being patient. But we have been baited and switched on the Epstein files already one time. And then the claim is, oh, they brought me an entire truckload of documents and we have to look through them. Exactly. Is anybody in jail yet? No, not from any of that. Not from any of that. The only ones that's in jail so far are judges that went against his, deportation stuff. And rightfully so. I'm not knocking that. They damn well should have been arrested. But, like you say, anybody in jail yet? Nope. Nope. No even talk of that. And that's to me absolutely insane. There's not even talk of it. They know who a lot of these people are. In fact, somewhere, somebody's got all kinds of video involving these individuals. Howdy, Turner. And nothing. Nothing. Will that change? I hope, but I'm not going to hold my breath. Right on, Turner. I'm not going to hold my breath on any of it. Just not. I think there are promises that are made by many different people in politics that aren't achievable. And when it comes to the transparency and all that, right on. Well, I don't have it in front for one main reason. I don't have teeth, and I'm here to talk about news and not my teeth. So that's why you see the back of my head. So I'm just being honest and transparent there. I'm always honest and transparent about that. But I actually would love to have the camera in front of me. I really, really would. I think that, let me take a look at that. The border was closed. Are you saying, Mike, are you saying that the border's not really closed? Or, and I'm asking because I was under the impression that there was a major, major clampdown. And I could be totally wrong on that. I'm not there, so, and I'm kind of one of those people that, if you're not there to see it for yourself, then you just have to go by others. And the whole drug thing, I want to make this clear too. This whole fentanyl thing, drugs, period. This whole so much coming up from Mexico thing is nonsense. When it comes to fentanyl, just like the opium, it comes in on planes. Directly in on planes. Right on, brother. Yeah, I used to smoke 3 packs a day, man. And I quit smoking in 2013 and almost 2014. But I quit smoking, actually it was the night before Thanksgiving, 2013. And I wouldn't be here now if I didn't go to vaping, to be quite honest. Right on. I've got the mustache, but kind of a mustache. You know how hard it is for me to grow facial hair? Takes me forever to grow a beard or a mustache. Wow. Yeah, I didn't know that on the meth. Yeah, I mean, I know that there's people that make it at home and stuff like that. It's kind of crazy considering the chemicals that's involved. But yeah, I know for a fact that a lot of the fentanyl, large majority of the fentanyl, it comes in on planes. Right from China, right on a U.S. airstrip. Does it? Yeah, now that I wouldn't know on that. And I know that a lot of the coke comes from South America. Without a doubt. Razors are expensive. Well, I quit shaving because of the Bible. So, that's why I quit shaving. I used to, actually, when I first started doing this, I was clean shaven all the time. So, I used to always be pretty clean shaven. I had a while that I went around. I liked the scruffy thing for a little bit, you know. But, crazy thing is, I grew out the beard and the mustache, and I started cutting my hair and buzzing my hair short. Now I let my mustache get long, and I let my hair get long again. Oh yeah, by the way, tomorrow I hopefully will have my hair ties, so, but it's not long enough yet to start tying back, so. Yeah, I would imagine that, as far as most of the drugs, I would imagine. That only makes sense. Only makes sense. Right on, Turner. Yeah, I'm an old school long hair. I'm used to having my hair very long, usually halfway down my back or so. So, right? I just had a major life change, major life change, and for some reason, I just started cutting my hair, and then I don't go to a barber or anything like that, so I would just buzz it with clippers, and just buzz it like real short with like the number 2 guide, and I was encouraged by the Father to let it grow again. So that's what I'm doing. And it'll be a long time before my hair sees a pair of scissors. And when it does, it will be just to get everything kind of trimmed up even and not looking so homeless. Right on the chart. Charles Bronson look. Right on. When I was young, I wanted my hair to look like Kirk Hammett. Kirk Hammett of Metallica. Real tight, curly. Right. Just the split ends cut off. Yep. But it'll be a while before I do that. Because I'll let it all grow in to where when they do cut the split ends off, they can make it even. Because I like my hair to be all one length. And I got huffed by the dog for that. For some reason. Yeah. I can't wait till I can pull it back in a ponytail, though. I miss that so bad. Miss it real bad. Yeah, see, I always wanted to be, I wanted my hair to look like Kirk Hammett's hair. Just real tight and curly. And, oh, wow. Now, see, mine is as straight as it gets. I do have Native American in me. And my hair is like, it's strange because it's really baby fine and real super, super soft. It's crazy. You can't really do nothing with my hair. It's just there. But here's the crazy part. When I was born, I think I was born with black hair, like coal black hair, and it fell out. And when my hair came back in, it was like literally Snow White. I kid you not. My hair was Snow White. And it remained Snow White for a lot of my childhood. And then once, I started, hit my teens. A little before I started to hit my teens, my hair started to darken a little bit. But I had light blonde hair for a long time. And now it looks brown. So, that's awesome. Wow. Yeah, I don't know that mine would get much darker than this. I think mine's probably about done getting dark. Because it hasn't gotten darker brown in a long time. So, yeah, I wished I honestly knew what my dad's hair did. Now, his hair was pretty much black. But I don't know if he had any of that either. But if I recall correctly, he had pretty soft, fine baby hair too. So, I don't know. And my dad's side is where the Native American is, so. Anyway, folks, I am going to hop off here so I can get some rest. Hoping some business comes in tomorrow on the repair end of stuff. And I kind of got a sneaky suspicion it will. So, anyway, I'm going to hop out of here. And God willing, I'll be back tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. We'll do it again. Oh, that's awesome, man. Well, God bless you, too. That is awesome. I wished I was closer to the native roots. I honestly don't know a whole lot about it, though. Don't know much about my dad's family. But anyway, I agree. Hope all of you can find peace. And I always end the show by saying shalom. So, but I hope you all have a good evening. And God willing, I'll be back tomorrow, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. I hope to see you guys here. And as always, shalom. Have a good night.